Donald Trump recently issued a public, vulgar ultimatum to Iran, promising to unleash hell if the Strait of Hormuz remained closed. The phrasing was so extreme that it raised immediate questions about the American president's state of mind. These outbursts occurred alongside a very specific sequence of shifting deadlines and military alerts, suggesting a calculated use of psychological pressure. Oil markets have reacted to threats against these tankers, but tactical movements on both sides indicate a timeline moving toward direct regional war. Understanding the path forward requires tracking the specific maneuvers taking place across the Middle East's maritime and scientific corridors. The escalation began with Trump's 48-hour deadline. He warned Iran of total infrastructural destruction unless the Strait of Hormuz was opened immediately. Before that deadline expired, the timeline shifted. Trump delayed the ultimatum by 24 hours and began referring to the new strike window as Tuesday Power Plant Day. This pattern of behavior is a hallmark of the Madman theory. It is a strategy where a leader intentionally acts in a volatile and irrational manner to convince an adversary that they are willing to take extreme, unpredictable actions. This specific psychological framework was a known tool of President Richard Nixon. He used it to convince foreign powers that he was unstable enough to use nuclear weapons if his demands weren't met. Trump's use of vulgar language and his arbitrary shifting of military deadlines are attempts to use that same unpredictability to force Iran into a concession. Iran responded to the American threats with open mockery. Officials claimed they had simply lost the keys to the strait, signaling that the Madman tactics were not having the intended effect. The geography of the Strait of Hormuz gives Iran natural leverage. It is a narrow, highly controlled channel that serves as a primary exit for the world's oil supply. Iran then expanded the threat to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. If both of these routes are blocked, global shipping is forced to abandon the Suez Canal entirely and travel around the southern tip of Africa. This shift would disrupt roughly 30% of global trade. Cargo ships would face a 3,500 nautical mile detour, adding nearly 2 weeks to every journey. To enforce this, Iran can rely on Houthi proxy forces in Yemen. These groups are positioned directly along the Bab el-Mandeb and have demonstrated the capability to strike commercial vessels with drones and missiles. By threatening a second maritime choke point, Iran has positioned itself to hold the global supply chain hostage as a countermove to the American ultimatum. As the maritime standoff continued, the conflict turned physical. A strike targeted and destroyed Sharif University, Iran's premier engineering college, and a center for its military research. Intelligence reports suggested that engineers at the university had developed tracking technology capable of targeting American F-15 fighter jets. In the wake of this attack on its scientific infrastructure, Iran has signaled a retaliatory focus on Israel's most sensitive military site. That site is the Dimona nuclear facility, located in a highly restricted zone of the Negev desert. It is one of the most protected pieces of infrastructure in the world. The internal secrets of Dimona were leaked in 1986 by whistleblower Mordecai Vanunu, who provided evidence of a massive, hidden nuclear program. The site was established in the 1950s under David Ben-Gurion to create a nuclear deterrent that remains the centerpiece of Israel's defense strategy. In direct response to the university strike, Iranian state media released footage of Mojtaba Khamenei in a command center, where he appeared to be reviewing plans for a direct attack on the Dimona reactor. This threat is underscored by data from the International Atomic Energy Agency, which has tracked a sharp increase in Iran's nuclear activities. This chart shows the current enrichment levels. Iran has reached 60. The threats of maritime blockades and strikes on nuclear reactors create the leverage needed at the negotiating table. Both sides are using the threat of a regional catastrophe to force the most favorable terms before a deal is signed.